Hey mommies, how are you? And welcome to our Mommyz Love video. And today I'm gonna get a little bit scientific with you and share with you a little bit of in-depth knowledge, because we talk about so many issues with breastfeeding and so many things that concern breastfeeding, but we don't actually talk about lactogenesis, which is actually just a really fancy word or scientific word for milk production. And we know that milk production is not easy, even though it's a natural process. It's not easy, but there's a lot of things that are involved with milk production, like the specifics, the kind of scientific part, what your body has to do. And it's important to understand that too, so that you can have a successful breastfeeding journey. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and really in the essence, everything that is to do with like the evolution of milk production and what your body goes through is all in regards to changes in your body that are driven by hormones, okay? That in fact your body is prepared for breastfeeding since you were like a little tiny embryo developing in your mother's womb, provided obviously that you're a girl. And then what happens is in adolescence, it starts to kick in, because then there's going to be a lot of development and growth in your breast and tissue and milk ducts and things like that. They start to kind of construct, and it's kind of the back work. And then once you get pregnant, in those first 3 months of your pregnancy, that's when everything starts to kind of kick into gear. And we'll talk about the phases of lactogenesis and milk production and how that starts to evolve and to change during your pregnancy and once you deliver your baby. So basically, one main question that people have in regards to breast milk production: if your breast size has anything to do with how much you produce or how little you produce. And the answer is no. There's no correlation between the size of your breast and milk production, okay? So if you have little breasts, small, big, huge, whatever, it's not gonna reflect how much milk you're gonna be able to produce. That's gonna be based on other factors that we're gonna talk about later on. So how does breastfeeding work? Well, like I said, it involves a lot of different hormones that are involved with lactation. And like I said, the moment you become pregnant, that's when everything gets kicked into gear. And in the essence, the hormones that are involved in milk production are estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, and oxytocin. And what they individually do basically is estrogen and progesterone, they are responsible for making and increasing the size and number of milk ducts. Prolactin is also involved in milk production, and oxytocin is involved in actually ejecting or stimulating your letdown, so your baby can latch onto your breast. That's when it starts to happen. That's when that hormone is released, and that's when milk production, you signal your brain that the milk has to come out, okay? So it kind of is both. Your baby triggers a hormone, and then it sends a signal to your brain, so your baby is also involved in that oxytocin or that ejection process. And the stages of milk production, so that's what we were talking about before. There's 3 stages, which is lactogenesis phase 1, that happens between 15 weeks to 20 weeks, and that's when your body, your breast start to make colostrum as early as that. It's pretty cool how your body starts to prepare well ahead of your baby's birth for milk production. And that's also, I guess, a smart way of your body preparing in case your baby comes a little bit early, so that you start to have milk to take care of your baby just in case they come early. Then lactogenesis happens after birth, like on the 1st and 2nd day after birth, and it's basically kind of a conglomeration of prolactin, insulin, thyroxine, if I'm saying that right, and oxytocin. And those are all hormones that are responsible, again, for milk production, injecting the milk, everything that is to do with boosting milk production into like high on gear. And then lactogenesis phase 3 is basically kind of controlled by mom. Mom has complete control of that phase, because it's how it's to do with when the milk is removed and the regulation of milk production, which happens the more often you breastfeed your baby or breastfeeding on demand. Breast milk does change though over time after you have your baby, and it does start to mature. So we'll talk a little bit about that so you can understand what starts to happen with your milk, because it doesn't stay the same. So basically the reason why it changes is to meet your baby's nutritional needs. And the first milk you develop is colostrum. We talked about that. It's the first milk, which is thick and yellow and sticky, and the main purpose of it is for immunity for your baby, for like immunological protection for your baby. So it seals your baby's stomach and gut, and it acts also as a laxative to get that meconium out of their system. Then the transitional milk is what comes next, and that is really, really high in fat and in calories to help your baby start to gain weight, and also for brain development. And the last one is the mature milk, and that one starts to become mature after about the 4th week of life. And basically it's going to have a lot more nutritional composition to help your baby to continue to be able to develop. And what's actually in your breast milk, like what is it made of, like what's the composition of it? Well, the amazing thing is that it cannot be manufactured in a lab, because it's not just ingredients or minerals and vitamins, which those can be maybe synthetically like manipulated and duplicated, but things like the hormones and the amount of like immunity that it has and antibodies, those can't be replicated in a lab like formula would be. And those things that basically compose your breast milk are water, fat, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and essential amino acids. And that's just the nutritional aspect. But above that is all that, like I said, antibodies and hormones and things that start to kick off a lot of things in your baby's development, which are the brain development, so the cognitive part, and also like the nervous system. So there's a lot of like intricate things that are involved to help your baby along, which only your specific breast milk can do it. Because breast milk also, as it starts to change and evolve, it changes depending on what your baby actually needs, and your baby will signal that to your body or to your breast through their saliva. So it's pretty amazing how breast milk starts to change and evolve for your specific baby. So like I said, a lot of those things that can't be replaced are things like antibodies, enzymes, hormones, growth factors, amino acids, microRNAs. So there are a lot of scientific things that your body's doing which cannot be replaced or duplicated. And a lot of those things, like I said, the factors that change the consistency and flavors of your milk are things like your baby's age, the time of the feeding. So the fat content, for example, can change if it's morning or if it's night. The time of day, the mother's nutrition. So it's super key that your body is super like in postpartum, that you're taking care of your body, because your body's kind of nutritional, the way that how healthy your body is will reflect on your milk too, how your milk is produced, and your baby's birth weight also, because it's actually been known that babies that are born preemies or very small, the breast milk that mom makes is a lot higher in fat to meet those demands. So there's a lot of factors that play into how your milk, the nutritional value that your milk has. So think about that. How amazing is it that your body is able to do all these wonderful things? And I'd like to know, because it's really surprising to know the amount of moms that really have no idea about how breast milk is made. So let us know what you knew about breast milk before you had your baby and after. And also, what's the most amazing thing that breast milk does for you? Like, what's the thing that puts you in awe? For me, it's just that the fact that your baby, without being able to talk, can communicate to your body what your baby needs to meet that demand. So I just think that's amazing. That just leaves me like, what? That's incredible that that can actually happen that way. So let us know what you think. Let us know how this is able to help you in your breastfeeding journey, because it just enlightens you and it keeps you motivated to keep on going, because your body is doing this amazing thing. So you yourself have to keep on determined and pushing it so you can reach your breastfeeding goals. Bye-bye, mommies. Besitos.